Welcome to Rachel Wolf Movement. Balance your body through holistic movement. Let's get started. Today we have a level 1 routine. This is all about strengthening your neck muscles, but also we have exercises to strengthen the postural muscles, including your shoulder and your back, that are responsible for keeping good neck-shoulder alignment. So for today's practice, you will need dumbbells. I have 3 pounds here. You can use 2 pounds, 1 pound. If you don't have any dumbbells, canned goods work pretty well. Just make sure they're of similar weight. I wouldn't go any heavier than 3 pounds just because when we are using these, we're focusing more on mobility and eccentric movements. So in order to protect the joints, we want to go somewhat on the light side. So the other props you're going to need for today's practice are a hand towel, and you can roll it up like this. And then you also need a resistance band, and I have a longer foam roll with me here. So the first exercise we will do is on the mat. And we're going to just start by warming up the spine, the shoulders, the neck here. So on your hands and knees, we'll start with cat and cow. Exhale, round your back. You're going to look towards your belly button so you have a slight tuck of the chin into the chest. Push your shoulder blades apart. Soft bend into your elbows so you're not locking out the elbows. And then turn your elbow creases forwards just to let the shoulders rest onto the back a little bit easier and better alignment. Now you'll start to drop your chest and let your head follow the spine. Exhale, round. Inhale, dropping the belly, open up the chest. Exhale, rounding the spine. Inhale, open up the chest. And we'll finish 3 more, just like that, pulling those shoulder blades apart. And then feel the shoulder blades come together as you drop the chest. Last 2. And 1 more. All right, now you're going to find the center between those 2 extremes. So a nice flat back. And we're just going to work on isolating the shoulder blades. So I want you to pull the shoulder blades together. Don't think so much about your lower back. So we're not dumping into our lower back and letting our belly drop, similar to what we were doing in cat-cow. Think about keeping your pelvis in a more neutral place. So we're isolating more of the shoulder blades. So we squeeze the shoulder blades together. Keep your core turned on just to keep the pelvis in neutral. And then you're going to pull your shoulder blades apart. So just to reiterate, I'm not rounding my back, right? I'm not changing the shape of my pelvis. This is all happening in the shoulder blades. So core is turned on to keep the hips in a more neutral position. And then I'm just isolating more of that upper back area. Shoulder blades, exhale, squeeze together, inhale, they pull apart. Now when I'm squeezing the shoulder blades together, feel the shoulder blades pinching together. And then as you press the shoulder blades apart, push the floor away a little bit, and you're going to feel your serratus anterior muscles turn on. These muscles go behind your shoulder blades and wrap all the way around to the front of the rib cage. So you might even feel these muscles here working. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Those are your middle trapezius muscles. You're going to feel that in the middle part of your back. And then we round and squeeze and separate. Now the whole time I'm keeping my neck in a very neutral place. So make sure your head is not here. We're not arching the neck. It's in the middle, aligned with the spine, keeping a nice long neck. All right, so now we'll grab the foam roll and you're going to place it on the mat long ways. And just be careful getting onto this. It's a little bit of a balance act here. So you're going to sit on the end of the roller. You need your dumbbells, and then carefully make your way down onto your back. And you want your head on, so just scooch down a little bit to make sure your head is fully supported. And if you're taller and you're taking up the whole foam roll and you need another spot for your head, you could just grab some pillows, stack them up to the height of the roller, and that will work just as well. Okay, so your feet are down on the floor, about hips distance apart. And then you'll just take your palms, turn them to face your hips. So we'll slowly take the right arm up and overhead, and we're just going as far as we can without placing any stress on the shoulders. So you want to feel a nice stretch, but you're not overdoing it. And then we'll switch and go to the other side. Very slow with control as you're switching from one side to the other. So when the shoulders are tense and tight, the rib cage will compensate for movement. Meaning that if our shoulders are tight, when I go to reach my arm overhead, I can't take it very far. So what we will do unconsciously is flare our ribs out, and now I can take my arm further overhead. So we want to be mindful of keeping your back ribs down on the roller, not letting these ribs stick out. So keep them down. Your core is turned on to help you keep the ribs in place. So we're keeping those ribs down, taking one arm up and overhead, breathing deep breaths. Exhale, inhale, switch it. Exhale, inhale to switch. This is really great for your neck and shoulder alignment. Make sure you have space behind your neck so you're not flattening your neck. It's very neutral position, so your chin is slightly tucked down into your chest. You want to make sure you're not sticking your chin up like this, so slightly drop down. And you're not tucking it so much that your neck is flat. We want to encourage that natural curve behind the neck. Now bring your arms up to the ceiling. Your palms are still facing one another. You can soften your elbows, just a slight bend. Take the arms out into a T. So you're going as far as you can towards the floor without over stressing your shoulders. So just a gentle stretch, nothing too intense. Inhale to open, exhale, pressing those arms overhead. You don't have to touch the floor. You're only going to the floor if it feels okay in your body. If the weights are too much, feel free to do all of these without the weights, especially if you're dealing with shoulder injuries or pain. Sometimes the weights can be a little much, so you can just try this without them. Inhale, open. Exhale, bring them together. And one more. And you'll rest the weights down by your hips. Take your arms down on the mat with your palms flipped up, and you're going to slide your hands alongside the floor as far as you can overhead, and then you'll start to come down. Now your hands might be hovering the floor and you do it like this, that's okay. I don't want you forcing any movement, so it needs to feel okay in your body. Exhale, lift up and over. Inhale, lower down. So we're watching those ribs as you come up and overhead. Make sure you're not arching your back to create more movement in the shoulders. Go slow with this one. If you feel like your shoulder blades feel kind of sticky, like they're getting stuck when you try to do this, you might feel some restriction. Check and make sure that your shoulder blades are down and slightly together in that retracted state, and it'll make your movement a lot easier. Exhale, lift up and over. Inhale, lower down. And 3 more. Last 2. And 1 more. Okay, then you can slide off to the side of the roller, and you're going to set that off to the side. Now we'll make our way on to the stomach. Take your arms overhead, your palms are facing one another, thumbs are up. You can use that towel roll for the forehead. And now your toenails are pressed into the floor. You can tuck your tailbone just slightly towards your belly button to activate your lower abs. Keeping your forehead pressed into the towel roll. Lift your right arm up as high as you can and lower down. And then lift your left arm up as high as you can and lower down. So as you're lifting the arms up, try to keep the shoulder pulled down away from the ear. Make sure it's not hiking up into the ear. Also, we're not trying to achieve a higher range of motion by moving the hips. So make sure your pelvis isn't rotating to get the arm up higher. We're keeping both frontal hip bones attached to the floor. You should even feel your pubic bone touching the mat. So we want to make sure with movement that we're not letting gravity just pull the arm back down to the floor, but we're slowly lowering it down. So if I was using momentum and letting gravity do the work, it would look something like that. Like I'm just coming down really fast and not being aware of my movement. So I want you to think about resistance up, resistance down, as if you're moving through water with your arms. Make it nice and fluid. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, lower. 1 more each side. And now you're going to take the arms down alongside your hips. Turn the palms down to the floor. So you should feel your shoulder blades start to squeeze together. So as you press the hands into the floor, pull your shoulder blades together. This alone is a lot of work. So you should feel your shoulders move from the floor towards the ceiling. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Try to hold that position. Now lift your arms up, and you're going to lift up as high as you can and slowly lower down. Now you can relax your shoulders here. It would be a progression if you kept them squeezed together the whole time. So you could do it either way. Lifting up, exhale, inhale, lower. Holding that squeeze of the shoulder blades will be more challenging. If this feels tiring though, feel free to let the shoulders drop, then squeeze them to lift the arms up. Exhale, we lift. 4 more. 3, 2, not using momentum, and last 1. And then you'll press yourself back up onto your hands and knees. Okay, now we're going to do some side lying work. And I'm going to use my foam roll as a pillow, but you could use a regular pillow or a yoga mat is fine. So you'll lie down on your side our yoga block. Or if you're going to use a yoga mat, you would roll it up, of course. Okay, so now you're going to take the towel roll, place it underneath the armpit. You're holding your weight. Make sure everything's aligned so your hips are stacked, knees are stacked. I'm not twisting here, so make sure you get that shoulder underneath you. Shoulders are stacked. Okay, so you're going to start with your arm in neutral like this. Squeeze the towel roll and exhale, lift the arm up towards the ceiling. So on this motion, I am working into external rotation on the shoulder blades and working against gravity here. It's pretty difficult. So you will be fine using a lightweight. 1, 2, 3 pounds is probably the max, or you can use canned goods here. So again, we're making sure we're slowly lowering it down. If this is really tiring for you, you can bring it all the way to the floor just to give yourself a little break. It is more of a progression to hold it there and start and end at that point. So note, I'm keeping my elbow down the whole time. So make sure you're not doing this motion. Now I'm involving other muscles, and we just want to isolate your infraspinatus and your teres minor. Those are your external rotators of the shoulder blade. So we'll finish 2 more. And last one, and you can lower down. Okay, now we'll go to the other side. So I'm just gonna switch everything around this way. And make sure everything's aligned, shoulders, knees, hips, everything's stacked. Exhale, lifting the arm up. Inhale, lower it down. Lower down, slow with control. Try not to rotate your spine either. So I see that compensation a lot. So the body will move in different patterns and ways to compensate for a restriction in the body. So if I'm weak and I can't get my arm up as high, then unconsciously I might do that to make the movement bigger. So just be aware of that. If your body's moving outside of what we want the movement to look like, the intended muscle doing the work, which is strictly, in this case, just my forearm. I'm not even moving my upper arm so much. The humerus bone is rotating within my shoulder socket, but I am not lifting it away from my body. Very small movement here. Good, 1 more, and lower down. Okay, now we're going to take it up to stand and go against the wall. So any type of postural work against the wall is really good for your neck and shoulder alignment. So you're standing against the wall. You don't have to have your feet all the way up against the wall, just because we want to accommodate that the hips, the glutes, are going to stick out a little bit more than our shoulders. So your heels are slightly away from the wall, but you do want to get your head and shoulders touching the wall. Now I'm going to take my resistance band straight out in front, and then start to open your arms out into a T, and that band is just going to come across your chest. Feel your lower abs engaged and slowly bring the arms forwards. So I'm trying to keep my head and shoulders against the wall the whole time. Exhale as you take the arms out. Inhale to open out to the side. Keep your back ribs as close to the wall as you can. Pelvis stays in neutral here. Exhale, open. Inhale, arms come forwards. We're keeping tension on the band, so not just letting those arms fling forwards, but slowly bringing them forwards. Exhale, pulling back, slowly come forwards. Okay, one more exercise. You're going to take the bands behind your head, and your elbows are bent, hands are in front. So I'm pulling my chin back. If I was on the wall, I'm pushing my head back into the wall just to pull my chin back slightly. Then try to keep that positioning and straighten your arms forwards. Bend your elbows and then let your chin and neck relax. So we push the head back into the band, tucking the chin, straighten the arms, exhale, inhale, slowly bend. Slight push of the head back into the band, exhale, extend, and bend, and relax the neck. Good. You want a somewhat light resistance band for this exercise because it's very difficult to do with a heavy band. We're just working these little muscles in the neck. And 2 more. Exhale, press it back. Inhale, lengthen. Try to keep the shoulders out of the ears. And you are done. This is stuck on my earring. Thank you so much for watching today. Remember to rest and stay consistent with movement. I'll see you next time.